I became Christian when I was around 8 or 9. When I was 13 years old, I realized I had same-sex attraction, and I sincerely, genuinely believed that if I would pursue a gay relationship, God would bless such a relationship. It was around my mid-20s that God began to challenge that conviction. I felt the Holy Spirit say to me, all your views on this subject was based on other people's arguments and other people's faith. Why don't you look into this for yourself and come to your own conclusions? So God brought me to a point where He has showed me that what His heart for sexuality is, and that it was not good for me to pursue my same-sex desires. And at that point, even though I was convinced that this was true, I didn't know how to walk it out emotionally, because for the past 10 or so years, I was pursuing gay relationships in order to try to meet the loneliness in my heart. And so I began to pray for a mentor. And in 2013, this man, Jason, he said yes to mentoring me without having even met me. Jason came to show me the love of a father. His love was kind, it was patient, he was willing to take time to listen, to really just say things like, I'm proud of you. Jason also helped me to understand things from my father's point of view. I used to be very angry and bitter at my dad. He had to explain that my dad was already doing the best he can. And so I had to learn to release forgiveness, to see things from his point of view. And I'd like to tell you that after my mentor walked with me, everything was fine and dandy, and everything was great. But it wasn't. I was still struggling a lot with loneliness, and I turned to unhealthy ways of coping, drinking, sex, looking for relationships. To me, that was like, if I can't have a relationship, and I can't have love and intimacy, then that was the closest thing that I could get. And so it felt more like a move of desperation. But every time that I would meet someone and had a sexual encounter, it never was satisfying for me. I always felt empty, I felt lousy, I just felt... during sex, there's such a moment of vulnerability, and I think I've always regretted that after I've experienced that moment of vulnerability with this person, this was a person I did not know, this was a person who did not know me, and it just made the emptiness a lot deeper. And I remember just in April 2014, I had another one-night stand. And by that point, I was just in such despair. I don't know what it was, but after that one-night stand, I was just at the end of myself. I just thought to myself, God, you have sent me help along the way. You have showed me so many different things. You have convicted me on your heart for sexuality and for me. And yet I'm still falling into these sexual encounters. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just get my act together? And I just told God, like God, I'm done. I have nothing left. I've tried for 10 something years to do this, and every time I said I wouldn't do it again, I would do it again. So you have to help me. I have nothing left. And that week, God really came through for me. I actually felt a palpable desire drop into my heart to go to church the next day, which was unprecedented. So the next day I went to church. I went up to be prayed for until a few weeks later, I realized a number of things began to happen. I realized that my desire for masturbation went down dramatically, even though I didn't try to do anything about that. And I just really experienced a period of freedom from this addiction. I began to have a growing hunger to be baptized in water and to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And it was just an inexplicable longing and hunger that I never experienced before. So in the earlier years of my journey, when I still thought that pursuing a gay relationship was the way to go, it was an intense struggle for me. I just thought, oh gosh, does this mean like for the rest of my life I will never experience love? But God began to slowly change my heart and mind towards that. He also showed me that there were same-sex attracted Christians out there who, even though they had gay desires, they are choosing to live a life being obedient to God by not acting on them. And when I saw that, it was such a mind-blowing thing for me. They were very honest about the struggles they face, the loneliness that they're facing, and yet they spoke from a place of peace and conviction when they talk about the life that they have chosen to live. God began to speak to me about the beauty of singleness, and He showed me how singleness is not a place where you're very sad, you're very lonely. And that was important for me because I thought that love and intimacy can only be found in a romantic relationship. But when God showed me that intimacy can also be found with friends, with the church, and with your own family, then it showed me that I don't have to be in a relationship in order to experience intimacy. I had to learn over time that He is a safe place for me. No matter how much I'm struggling, whenever just battling with loneliness and I feel like no one could understand. And I could go to Him and He understands and He sits with me in my pain. And I think that was important for me to learn that He is trustworthy. And as long as I trust Him, as long as I follow Him, He will provide for me along the way and things will fall into place. I don't know what they will look like. My desires may increase, decrease, remain the same until I die and see the Lord. But that's not really my focus, but my focus is on Jesus and on following Him in the ways that He's calling me to follow Him. He will work it out in His best time, in His best way.